Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of honestly, it's just cancel culture, the cancel culture series where, I talk to specifically Black men who are in the entertainment business, their perspective. You know, yeah. So today we have a special guest.
Antoine Tate.
So wait, you're an actor, writer.
Yep.
Um, you're hilarious. You make great sketches and all kind of things, and you're all around talented. Like, what made you want to get into the entertainment business at the beginning, and then like, do you feel that the industry is a little biased when it comes to black men, and in the entertainment business?
Well, for the first question, I would say that I got started technically like venturing in when I moved to LA in 2013. Been here for almost 10 years. That's crazy. But Vine, like Vine, the app, making comedy skits, etc. That's kind of how I started getting into it. And I did that because I was new here. I was lonely. I didn't have people. I was like poor as I don't know what. Um, and so I would use Vine just to talk about my experiences. Like, yo, look, there's a shopping cart. I don't got no money, like, but I'm inspired. And then eventually, I started meeting people through Vine, and I started just making comedy skits, and they started doing well. And then I went to Instagram, and started on YouTube, and it just kind of blew up to a degree. So yeah. Um, and then let me see. And then from there, I kind of started auditioning, kind of get into acting. I was like, okay, this is my thing. Like I was like, I like making people laugh. I like comedy. Let me just go hard with it. And so I've been doing that ever since.
Nice. That's awesome. I don't know your journey, but I mean mine. I always talk about, how the journey of, I don't know if many people really know about my story, but I was doing acting when I was like 16, before I even moved to LA. But going to LA, it just kind of made me look at everything differently because of the experiences that I've had, living in LA, good and bad. I'm not saying everything was horrible, but there were some things that I was like, that's interesting. And I think the past, gosh, I think during the pandemic and just after that, everything entertainment wise, I just sees like with the whole Dave Chappelle, Will Smith, you can go down the list of many men, black men who were in the entertainment business. Um, I don't know. I just don't think it's you're held accountable, seems like it from my perspective. Like you have more of a you could fall harder versus someone else, another man, a male who's a Caucasian man, or someone else who has more, that you can fall, but it's not as it doesn't feel like the same, or it doesn't seem the same.
Okay.
But I don't know. Do you feel that, like, I don't know, that pressure as a black entertainer, right, man, to kind of keep it, this is my market, I got to keep it clean? Or are you okay with just being who you are and not, I don't know, try to check these boxes?
Um, I think that times have changed. I think of course you got, black men have to live up to some of the stereotypes, have to live up to the whole Marshall thing. That's why Will Smith had like had a big moment because what he did was outside of his character.
Right.
Especially especially as a black man. But for me personally, what I've noticed, and this is from the perspective of a black male writer,
Right.
there is a lot of content for black men,
Right.
and I think now, like in the past 2 years, it kind of just blew up. Um, and I think it's mostly, if you will, alternative black men, or like
Mm.
the weird black man or the quirky black man. And I think that's dope to have. I think like they're more relatable to me. Um, So I think prior to that, we just had Denzel and Samuel Jackson and Forrest Whitaker, Morgan Freeman, and Jamie Foxx and Will Smith, and they all kind of fit a certain type of mold.
Mm.
But I feel like now there's a lane for the weird black man. There you go. There's a lane for the weird black man. I like
Mm.
that.
The weird black man. Is what would you say that what's his name? Who the writer from Atlanta? Would you
Mhm.
say he fits? Is he weird?
Well, I I'm assuming you mean Donald Glover, but
Donald Glover, that's it.
also Lakeith Stanfield.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
both are weird. And Atlanta is the show that kind of jump started all this that I see. Because like
Mm,
right now you have Atlanta and you have a show called Bust Down, which is all of them are weird and just disrespectful. Then you have Southside with like black people who the hood of Chicago with the nerdy as hell. Then you have Flatbush Misdemeanor set in New York. And then you
mhm.
have the Grand Crew, which is set in LA, and black people talking over wine like this. I just love it. It's a nice big boom, and I'm here for it. Yeah,
Nice. As a writer, what is it that you're looking to, I don't know, to say, you know?
yeah. Um, I'm from DC, so for me, I really want to talk about my experiences in DC.
Okay.
I think people they think of the city and they think of obviously politics. They think of the president. They think of the museums and the tourism and blah, blah, blah. But DC has a lot of culture. And it has grown in the past 20, 30 years to being the DMV, which is DC and its surrounding suburbs. So Maryland and Virginia, like certain counties. Um, yeah, so like we're all kind of together, and I just want to talk about that. But also just being I always say this, you can blurt this out, but I am not a hood nigga, but I am a nigga from the hood. So like I always feel like I was like the outcast, nerdy guy, whatever, dork or whatever, but I was always cool with people. And I
Right.
never had really too many issues. So I want to talk about that in my writing.
That's cool. Yeah, and I think I could totally understand what you're saying. And like I can totally relate to that. And like I never, I mean, we grew up, I went to a private school growing up, and my reality, I wasn't with around a lot of black people growing up. So that was my reality growing up. And I think it was like it was like two black people in our school, like our class. And I was like, everyone else is either, and that was the reality growing up. And then obviously when I finally went to public school, I was like, wow, there was so many people. And I mean, so I totally get that. And it kind of made me I guess I didn't notice it until later on I got older. Because that my I have a lot of friends that are not, obviously African American, but it wasn't that I didn't think I was black. I didn't have that identity crisis, thank God. But I think a lot of people thought I did because of, how you speak, or oh, you're not you're the nerd, you're the weird one. You don't fit in this box that, you know what I mean?
That's from my perspective. Like I would assume that like even as you were talking, I was like, I'm curious to know what your experience was like. But why would you wouldn't think that if you didn't have to? Like I feel like people who grow up in those circumstances don't realize it until other people point it out.
Right.
And that typically happens when they get older. And I always say this: I feel like people who didn't really grow up in black neighborhoods or whatever, I feel like they tend to overcompensate, especially recently with not saying you, but I was like, I noticed that the people that really be at the forefront of a movement or whatever, or like really go hard with it loud, it's people that are trying to compensate. Not all the time,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
that's my theory. That's a theory. I'm like, I noticed that.
It's a good theory. I like that. No, it's real. That's real for sure. I don't know. I think for me, I think what really for me to start this podcast, and just talking to particularly black men, because I've had people tell me, well, you don't have too many black people on your podcast. And I'm like, that's not true. If you actually go back, it feels like you have to justify everything what you're doing and I don't like doing that. But I'm in an age now in my 30s. Oh God, I hate saying that number, but it's like I don't care what people are thinking. I'm just going to do what I feel is right as a creator at the moment, or what I'm going through. And Dave Chappelle, obviously, for the number one, he made an impact on me because I was just watching his bits, his stand up, talking about life and his through his perspective, and I was just like, wow, what a interesting perspective. Like
Yeah.
I wonder, like, and it was just a bunch of truth. It was so good, and I'm just curious if he's like the narrative, not for every black man, obviously, because that's but I wonder if a lot of black men share in the same, like, his values and how he looks at things. because as a woman, I'm like, wow, yeah, he's so right. Like, I'm just curious of what black men think of, like he's funny. He's one of the greatest. He's probably the greatest, right? But it's so crazy that you can walk away from something of his and you're like, wow, I didn't know this. That's like, wow, I didn't think of that. But he makes you think about it. I don't know, life and stuff. How do you see him? I don't know. What do you relate to a lot of things that he says?
Um, yes and no. I feel like Dave Chappelle says a lot. I think his commentary, his comedy is commentary. I feel like his comedy is pretty much him talking about current events and how he feels about certain stuff. I do understand like his stance on like how Hollywood treated him at the time and why he walked away from the Dave Chappelle show.
Mhm.
Um, but the one thing I don't like, and it's not really his fault, it's the people who love Dave Chappelle. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle, but the people who take his words to heart.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of them have taken the whole emasculating the black man commentary, meaning like Dave Chappelle talked about how something about them wanted him in a wig or whatever, and black men have to wear wigs in Hollywood. And I hate that narrative. I think that's really detrimental. I think that's harmful. Because it's not true. Like every black comedian doesn't have to dress up like a woman. Like I think that's false situation. Especially when you have a lot of black comedians who didn't have to, who never did. And also there's really nothing wrong with dressing up as a woman. Right. I think people they think it's like unless you're trying to make fun of her or you're trying to do like a caricature, I think that could be offensive. But overall, the idea of a man dressing like a woman or whatever he wants to wear, and that it's like they're trying to ruin the black community. I think that's whack as fuck. Like I really hate that narrative. So Dave Chappelle is so I don't really have an issue with the things he said so far. I mean, let me take that back because he did some things about trans people that
I
kind
mean,
of
I watched that one and I didn't think it was, and a lot of them were like people didn't actually finish and to listen to actually what he says. I mean, I think he actually tells a story, and I think a lot of times media plays the it's like that thing of what Kanye said, if you say anything, you lose everything. If you say too much, then it's almost like the media is for you, and then if you get too much, if you're talking too much truth or saying whatever that's against the majority, quote unquote, then you kind of don't get the I don't know, you just kind of get the oh, you're the bad guy kind of card. And I think that's what art is. You're supposed to be able to talk about these things, or you at least that's what I think free art is. But a lot of them were saying they didn't think it was a problem, because they understood what exactly. And I think he brought it back to being black, and I understand that. And he said something about like how um you know I I'm not beating you down until we're on the same page. Like I can't make jokes about, because he's like, because also people make jokes about black people all the time, the black experience, but it's not as serious for some reason than any other type of movements. You know what I mean? Like that's what it looks like. um I don't know, it's just really strange what the media does to us.
first of all, that's one thing to talk about. The media definitely they manipulate us. They always have. I do think that Dave Chappelle has. I don't know about the last thing he put out, but one of the last big stand-ups he did is that joke. Well, I thought the joke was fine. I thought the trans joke was funny. I think the issue is more so that wasn't the first time he talked about trans people,
Hmm.
and he's done it multiple times. And I think finally with that, he was like, he's going to stop talking about it because he kept getting backlash. For that particular stand-up, I remember like the media does this thing where it can be like only a few people that's outraged, and then they'll
Right.
make everybody's outraged, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and that wasn't really the case this time. I don't really think that. Well, I can't speak for the trans community, but the people that I do know who are trans and for what I saw, most people weren't really offended by it.
Hmm.
But it gets to a point where it's like, yo, why you keep making jokes about this particular group of people? Like, why? And then he did make a joke about the LGBT community in the car, and I thought that shit
That was
was bad.
brilliant.
It
But
was hilarious. And it's 100% true, right? And it's
right.
like, yo, the LGBT they do treat the T differently, and I thought it was a perfect joke. But I
Yeah.
do think people are hella sensitive.
That's
You
the
know,
thing though. As a comedian, right? You're funny, right? So
I would say I'm a comedic writer. I want or actor, but I wouldn't say I'm a comedian.
Okay.
That's the craft.
Well, let's put it so you're funny. You're really good at, showing that, right?
Yeah.
Now, why is it that we can talk about everything else but not one thing? It's like, like he had a really good bit about, he said it was one of the producers brought him back and said, you have to stop saying, you can't say something. But he was like, but I say the N word every time. I mean, how can I, not say this group of people are going to feel like not like sensitive, but then he's like, I'm the butt of every joke. I'm saying the N word. I'm talking about myself. Like he's, and it's like that make. I think we forget that, that. So only one person has a feeling. So it's like, you know what I mean? Then it becomes like, what can we talk about?
I,
Cancel culture.
I feel you. I feel you 100%. I will say this though, and it's like I do think some things have been desensitized, um, and I think that I feel like anybody can make a joke about anybody, but there is a difference between a tasteful joke and a tasteless joke.
Right.
And I think that when you talk about when you have gay jokes, I think you have to be cautious because one, obviously gay people have always been around, but in more recent times there has been a movement where like the people, I'm not saying everyone accepts it, but they're more tolerable about it and that they tolerate it more. So I think it is a soft spot when you say a joke because it's like, well, are you actually homophobic?
Right.
Like, are you? And to that point, it's like also black people like, yeah, we like black jokes, but don't be a white person saying a black joke because it's still a sensitive, a sensitive thing. But if it's a funny joke and it's tasteful, we'll laugh at it. But it's like, yo, you make a black joke, are you are you making a joke or are you actually racist? Like, so if I have to question who you are and what your intentions about the behind the joke, that I think that's the issue. But that being said, I don't think Dave Chappelle said, from what I remember, anything that wasn't tasteful. I think he had said like really funny, well written jokes.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you can go back and like way back when, like the greats, Richard Pryor, oh my God, so many people that came out before, very raunchy, kind of like crazy jokes. And now it's like you can't say what that was back then. I mean, that stuff was, I looked at some old jokes. I'm like, holy crap, they got away with saying, the F word, towards a certain group of people. But then it was like, now you cannot say it. So it's just like
I hate
every,
everything is
obviously, I don't use it, but you know what I mean? It's like,
I think that I'm sorry because I was like I love this and I want to throw it back at you real quick. So like my question for you is like, well, one, yes, people got away with things back in the past and the
mm,
jokes were hilarious. Like not only just comedy, but just what we saw on TV in the 70s and 80s. They kind of got away with a lot of stuff that we can't get away with now.
that,
But it's more so because people, and I want to know your opinion on this. People just turn the other cheek, right? Because people always
mm,
complain about it. They didn't really have a platform to really voice it. They wasn't didn't they couldn't speak it to a lot of people. No one also cared. No one
right,
cared you were making gay jokes
right.
because they didn't like gay people. But I think nowadays it's like people are more tolerable, right? And people are more aware. So while again, some of the jokes are funny, some things may be tasteless. So people just were they were less sensitive, but they also didn't have a choice. Now
Mm,
we do. Now we have a choice of what we want to hear. So I think that's
mm.
something we got to take into consideration. We're talking about, well, back in the day, jokes were funny. Back in the day, my grandparents, they've been married for 50 years. Yeah, but your grandfather was cheating on your grandmother, and your grandmother had to put up with it because she had no other choice. So I
Right.
think that's something we got to take into consideration.
Right. No, I agree. It's I'm kind of, and this is sounds crazy, and maybe it's a little harsh, but I do believe that if you don't like someone, don't buy it. You have that choice and power to like mute that person. But I feel
Facts.
like people feel like it's like, it's like, oh, you can't. But then that's called art, and it's like if it's my art and I'm putting out in the world, and this was greenlighted by Netflix, mind you, who doesn't look like us. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm choosing to receive that kind of information. So I think it also goes hand in hand. It's like we do have power of choice. Like you said, if we don't like something, we don't have to deal with it. Even if it's like someone in our life, if that person's toxin, if that person's not good for you, your spirit, your growth, you can actually cut them off, you know,
Facts.
and then you don't have to deal with it. But and you made some really, really valid points. I do believe that we can choose, now we're I guess as well, the world is evolving. Everyone's like, that kind of was like I didn't like that, and we do have there is that. So it's like putting your art out there and people, you get people like filmmaker friends of mine that are like, oh man, I hate to get like reviews. I'm like, well, it's gonna be good and bad. It's like you can't get a perfect review. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. But yeah, do you feel like it's that? Do you feel like people are just I don't know. I don't know what it is. Do you
Yeah.
think it's just when is the line drawn? Like, is there a line? Because then it just becomes, if that's the case, then it's like the next step. And then it's like, we don't have thought anymore.
Yeah. I am that person. Well, first of all, I'm a Libra, and I'm not really sure if you're in astrology because I'm not really in astrology that much, but I will say I'm a Libra, and I do believe in balance, right? That's
Mm,
what I take away from that. But for me, I think that it's not just one answer. It's really multiple things, and I think you have some people that are extremely sensitive, and some people are truly bigoted. And so whether we draw the line, it's like I don't know where the line is because it's like one moment I'm defending somebody like, yo, they can make that joke. And then the next time I'm like, well, that joke actually was trash and you actually did offend people and it was unnecessary. It's like, as a writer, what's the intention of the joke? What's
hmm
the actual joke and how is it written, right?
right.
And it's like, what are you trying to do with it? If it's just like a mean ass joke, then it's tasteless. Like there's no if you can go without telling a joke to get to your set or get to your story, then that means that the joke wasn't really necessary, and you just put it in there for what controversy. That's not tasteful. That's tasteless. That's distasteful. Um, but I do think that some people are overly sensitive, and I hate that. I hate that no matter what we do, people are always going to crit. Well, actually, no matter what we do, people are going to criticize it. They're going to rate it, negatively because people just sometimes you may trigger them. But I go based off your intention behind the joke and how it made me feel. Because if like obviously I'm not trans, but Dave Chappelle made a joke about trans people. I can't speak for them. However, the way how he wrote and how he wrapped it up, it was
Yeah, it
good.
was
I agree with
powerful.
it. It was good. But
Mm,
I think some people just don't talk about it, right? I'm like, well, they still people too. So if
yeah.
we all joke about each other, we all make fun of each other, and I think you just got to do it well.
Yeah, exactly. What's next for you? Are you working on anything right now at the moment? Ooh, I can't wait to hear about this.
Well, I am a part of I got into a writers program called Black Boy Rights, Black Girl Rights.
Love
Um,
that.
and it's pretty initiative and it's pretty much like a program that helps us become better writers, but also hopefully the intention is to get us repped or get us on
Yeah,
the show. But so far it's about 14 of us in the cohort, second cohort.
it's great.
Um, and we've had like this nice photo shoot. We've had some articles in different platforms. The program has mentioned a deadline and all these other different publications.
It's great.
And we had a nice photo shoot. It felt like a Vogue photo shoot. I mean, like we look good. Like, and what I tell people this is all the time is that I've always said, yeah, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, right? Because I was on social media, I've been writing since I was a kid, and realized like, oh my god, I've been writing scripts my whole life since I was like 13.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think people didn't listen. And that's how LA works most times. Like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm a writer, I'm an actor. I'm a writer, I'm an actor. Yeah, sure, Jan. Okay, sure, AT. But then when I had the articles came out and then the photo shoot came out,
Then
people
you're
was like,
solidified.
oh, you're a writer and an actor. Oh wow. I'm like, man, I told y'all this. Now you see me, but to that point, I do think that it's more so about people really gotta see you. Like even if you say it, they gotta see you work for it. I think that now people are actually seeing me work for it for the first time.
Mm.
Like I'm like, oh, even my family, like they don't know what the hell I'm doing out here in DC. I mean, I'm in LA, back in DC. Like, so people be asking what you do. I don't know what you do. I'm like, I'm trying to make it in LA, y'all. Like, I'm trying to make it. So I think that the article and the photo shoot really made people see me. And so right now I'm doing a program and I'm hoping that, this would just not even hoping. I know that it's up from here.
Yeah.
Like I'm at these networking events and I see a lot of my friends and like Issa Rae said, work across, right? And it's like you have friends and you have acquaintances or associates and like as we all move up, we move up with each other. And I think that's important. So that's that. I'm in a program. I'm writing my scripts, and as right now, my day job, how I make money is I am obsessed with digital marketing.
Oh, awesome.
I'm obsessed with social media marketing to how everything works. And
Mhm.
once I became aware of it and opened my eyes, like, yo, everything is marketing. So I have a social media marketing company called AT's World Media. and I do social media managing. I do content creation. I build websites, do graphic design. So and I run ads. So whatever people need, I typically can do it because I've been studying it for a while.
Awesome.
Um, and that's pretty much what I'm working on right now. And I'm just
Love
trying to
it.
elevate and then eventually transition from digital marketing to AT's World Media also being a production company that
Okay.
pushes out my own content and my own movies and TV shows.
Love that. Well, congratulations on all that you're doing. Much success to you.
Thank you.
Um, I'm curious of that what we said you're trying to make it. What do you think making it? What is making it to you?
Making it again, where's the line? Everything in black and white is multiple answers. I think that, but I think as people, we tend to
Mm,
we never make it, right? It's like, yo, you have a goal, and if you meet it, you're just gonna make another goal. It's like, yo, I'm poor, I want to be rich. Cool, but what is rich?
mhm.
Okay, because $1 million is a lot to us, but it's still not a lot technically for real, for thinking about it. Especially if you have a house, if you have a car, if you have different, liabilities, if you will. Um, but for me, making it is not worrying about bills and not worrying about my family and their bills and in their hard times. Like my main goal is to just really be able to support myself and also help my family. And if you notice, I didn't say support, right? Because I don't want to be responsible for taking care of my family, but I do want to put them in positions where they can make their own money. Like
Right.
that's what I'm really excited about. And I've been obsessed with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like really getting into not only social media and digital marketing, but just like finances, knowing the
Yeah.
difference between the assets and liabilities and blah, blah, blah. But for me, making it is just being financially well off, not rich, but well off. And now also just understand the difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Mm,
That's my goal. Like Hollywood wise, yeah, I want to win an Emmy, a Grammy, or Oscar, Tony, but I also really just want to be financially secure because you never know how this economy is going to go. And as they say, a big empire always falls, right? So America, based how I've been looking for these past few years, look, we better get our shit together because I don't know what's going to happen. Where we going to be at? World War three, four, five, six? I don't know. I don't like that.
right. Yeah, financial freedom. That's it. That's definitely the goal. Absolutely. Yeah, because then you can essentially just do what you want to do.
Hmm.
And that's the freedom that I think we all want, really. And then obviously, yeah, I mean, you're on your way. You're doing it. I mean, you're doing it. A lot of people say they want something and they actually don't take the first step. And I think that is part of everything is going out in like that unknown journey. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm here for the ride. You know what I'm saying? But no, I'm so happy that you could come on and talk and share your thoughts. And it was great talking to you and just kind of picking your brain about this topic. And yeah, this is good.
Hope you got some good tidbits.
Yeah, no, some great bits. I love this kind of conversation because I think it just does nothing but it just elevates, I think, the entire narrative and the whole stigma of Black men and Black women not being able to understand each other. And I always want to like, I mean, if any other cultures can do it, why not us too? So yeah, thank you again. I appreciate your time. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. Bye, guys.